Be ye therefore followers of God, as dear children, and walk in love, as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling Savior. But fornication and all uncleanliness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you, as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, or unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. But not ye therefore partakers with them. For ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame to even speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherever he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding that what the will of the Lord is. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. Giving thanks always for things unto God and the Father in the name of our Lord, Jesus Christ. Submitting yourself one to another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church, and gave himself for it, that he may sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot, or wrinkle, or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished it and cherished it, even as the Lord the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Hello, July 24th, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and this is the Watchman News, and that was Ephesians 5. So, got a lot of news tonight, a lot of craziness. Don't know if we can get it all in the hour or not. I'm going to try. I would like to speak just for a moment on that verse we just read. I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I didn't read it all before I did the show. I've had kind of one of those crazy days. However, I did, this is interesting. The reason why I use this was because of the description of how we were supposed to walk in the Lord. And I didn't know, it was this morning that I don't choose these. I don't know the Bible word for word. I don't memorize it. There are some things that I do have memorized, but I can't remember the whole thing. So it comes to me, and all I generally ever did is a book and a chapter. And I don't believe in cutting it up, so I read the entire chapter. That's why I do that. But however, I did not read all that, and I do find it rather interesting. I do see how it relates to my life today, things that went on today with myself. But it has nothing to do with my ex, well, soon-to-be ex-wife. And I will just make comment on that. You know, sometimes we all fail. We're not perfect. We all fail. And we both failed as far as a marriage was concerned. Not trying to make excuse, or I tried fixing things, and that's what we're supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to repent. We're supposed to try to make things right that were once wrong. And I did everything in my power to do so, and it just wasn't going to happen. I can't help that. I'm only 50% of the equation. But that's not the part that I was really wanting to discuss. Something interesting happened to me today, and in fact, it just happened not here that long ago. And I'm at a loss because it saddens me to see that we've come to this. It really does. It saddens me that people will give up friendships over another person's opinions. And I'm not talking about something serious. I'm not talking about something earth-shattering. But I was approached on the old evil book today, and basically, I'm not going to out them, but, you know, telling me that they may have to unfriend me on the basis that of some of my posts, and they were claimed to be religious and right-wing. Well, I went through and I looked on my page because I was curious. And the only thing that I had even really religious, other than the announcement for the show, and I guess it's right-wing, I don't know, I didn't post it for that reason. I posted a picture that says, Train your children in the fear of train your children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Don't let them sit in front of a TV and let Hollywood be their guide. Well, I support that wholeheartedly. In fact, for a couple of years, when me and my family were still together, we got rid of TV because I didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't want them to see what was on that. I didn't want them to be mentally programmed with that garbage, because that's what it is. It's garbage. Absolute, unadulterated trash. And I guess where this came from was John Hagee Ministries. I don't really know anything about John Hagee or his ministry. I just liked what the image had to say. I assume that he must be some right-wing minded individual. I really don't know. I didn't dig that deep. I agree with what was on the image. It's sad. It's sad. And not one time ever have I pointed out my disagreement with their gun control posts or their pro-choice posts or anything like that, because it's none of my business. It's not my right. If you don't like this country, if you don't like our Bill of Rights and the morals and the foundation of this country, there's plenty of room now down in Mexico. Plenty of room. I'm pretty sure of it. Or should I say a little further south? I'm sorry. And I'm not saying that in a racist manner or anything like that. But there's an example. You know, this particular person thinks that, you know, we should be completely welcoming. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't. What I am saying is there's a certain procedure, and they should have to follow that procedure. Hey, all kinds of diseases are coming up here. I'm looking at this as a medical issue. A serious medical issue. Not to mention all the lack of jobs, the increasing abundance on government dependency, which, again, I'm not lashing out at those people. They have no choice. See, I am not right-wing. I am not left-wing. I'm not even on the bird. I walk with God. I don't walk with Democrats. I don't walk with Republicans. I don't walk with Obama. I don't walk with Bush. I walk with God. And if we were to focus on that, maybe some people could pull their heads out of their rear ends. And I'm sorry for being a little bit rough with my message, but how else can you put it? Seriously. Why are we letting these things divide us so much? Do you know why? I do. It's over-medication. It's the garbage that image was talking about on TV. Look, my name's Mike Callahan. Simply that. I don't live my life like a reality show, and I'm not going to let somebody else live it for me like that. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Life is enough of a pain in the butt. We don't need other people saying, hey, you got to do this or you got to do that. That's extremism. That is absolute extremism. I don't get it. I really don't get it. You know, what are you supposed to do? Seriously, you know, what are you supposed to do? It's sad. It's come to a point to where people have to draw their lines in the sand, and it shouldn't even come to that. We should respect each other and love one another and leave them alone. You know, in all the years I've known this woman, 11 years, something like that, I've never once pushed my views on her. Now, if you go to my personal Facebook page, you're going to find them. I have that right. So do you. And I respect yours. I respect your right. I don't care what your views are. As long as you don't agree with willingly and knowingly harming others. And hey, I apparently let that slide quite a bit too. Oh, my goodness. My goodness, my goodness. Lord, please, please reach down and touch the people of this earth. Please. So anyway, I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm using some new software, trying to make the show a little bit neater, cleaner, whatever you want to call it. And I actually just noticed I forgot something. I've got a little bling, bling. So anyway, let me see if this will allow me to play audio over this, because I didn't think about that ahead of time, because I'm just smart like that. Let me go back to the other view and see if it will let me play the audio with the page as well. By the way, I'm working on news and I didn't even say that. I am so good, ain't I? Oh. Yep. Gotta love it. Okay, let me, I'm trying to bring up news in 2 minutes for you. I apologize. Let me see if it comes up. No, it does not. So, I've got a way to deal with this. Just give me a moment.
Taking place throughout multiple nations.
There you go.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of News in 2 Minutes, bringing you the news that you need to know every day. Let's begin. Massive anti-Israeli protests are taking place throughout multiple nations as fighting between the Israeli military and Islamic forces with the Hamas organization continues to intensify, with reports showing that fighters from nearby regions are moving toward the Gaza Strip in order to swell the Hamas numbers in their fight against Israel. As mentioned in previous reports, officials are increasing the level of global awareness surrounding large volcanic events, with international scientists warning that the Earth may be gearing up for a series of crisis-level volcanic eruptions across the world. Researchers from both within the U.S. and from other nearby nations are publishing studies on an increase in both tectonic and volcanic activity, including this study shown in the July issue of the journal Nature, where scientists continue to monitor how fast Earth conducts electricity, allowing them to measure the flow of magma and partially molten rock beneath Washington's Mount Rainier, a clue that indicates the likelihood of a severe volcanic eruption sometime in the future. In further proof that the dynamic of oil availability throughout the Middle East is changing while the Western-led empire of economic domination continues to falter, environmentalists are warning against the U.S. Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's allowance of sonic cannon oil exploration off the American East Coast at what they say is the cost of widespread risk to marine life and the potential for a large oil spill in the ocean. International economists stress that while the dynamic of American imperialism continues to change, the U.S. will further pursue drastic courses to provide its own energy needs, with experts noting that oil independence, or at least subsidy, may come at the cost of both land, life, and freedom within the U.S. As the war for water, and not only its availability but its freedom of use, intensifies across the world, researchers are noting a drastic increase in volatile societal activity regarding its dispersion, leading experts to warn that the liquid is set to become a catalyst for widespread unrest and social disorder as governments around the world scramble to control one of the world's most valuable assets and essential life-bearing properties. Reports from Ukrainian officials are continuing to contrast those of Russia and Russian-backed rebels over the cause and fault of the recent passenger jet crash over Ukrainian territory, leading researchers to note that information from Western contacts shows an expected influx in rhetorics and suggested proof that Russian-backed rebels have perpetrated the disaster, possibly at the behest of Russian orders, a claim that may lead to international conflict over the crisis. And to wrap things up, wildfires are expected to continue intensifying in the U.S. state of Washington. Unrest unrest is growing within Egypt as anti-government rebels strike key Egyptian military posts, and a 6.6 in Russia, followed by a 5.1 in Mexico and a 3.3 in Kansas, completes today's Quake Watch. And that's it for this episode of News in 2 Minutes. Research links are available at fullspectrumsurvival.com, and check back tomorrow for more news that the aware need the most.
All right, and as always, you will find the link to watch the video in the About tab. Oh my goodness, there's not enough coffee in the world, folks. Not enough coffee in the world. Oh, let's see. I guess we can go ahead and move straight right on to suspicious observers. We've got some issues I'm going to be talking about with the sun and whatnot as well. Now he's got 2 videos that he has released today, and I will play them both for you. Here's the normal morning news, suspicious observers. Links down there as always.
Good morning, folks. The Mobile Observatory Project is back in the United States. We're in Warsaw, New York today. Folks, how easy is this? Seriously, incoming transequatorial coronal hole turns fully to face Earth, extending her magnetic fields off in Earth's direction. Meanwhile, Jupiter, so reflective we have horizontal glare lines heading in for perfect solar conjunction, and the earthquakes begin. USGS registering a 6.2 in the Kuril Islands, and folks, this could be their worst downgrade yet. We have 6 readings at 7.0 or higher, including 2 7.2s. The red and green are the most reliable readings at 6.5 and 6.7, and nearly all measurements taken exceed the USGS report. We know that the event did not produce a tsunami, but also that the earthquakes continue to be underreported. I'd also like to note the beautiful Earth spot sitting right next to that quake zone, and just like with the 6-pointer in Alaska last week, the reinforced wind drive between them. The Earth spots hypothesis is featured in the Electric Earth and Sun section of suspiciousobservers.org. Quick ice update. The Arctic up north continues to be well below average, but also continues the 2-year bounce back from the record lows in 2012. The Antarctic in the south, still breaking monthly records on its way to an all-time high. However, I will like you to note a couple of storms surged warm air into the southern circle last week, taking us below the record-breaking Antarctic ice levels for the first time in almost a year. Experts do expect a comeback. Let's go round the world with the pressure overlay. Purple is low, yellow is high. Some scattered precip across this region and more cold air for New Zealand, all in all though a lighter day than most. You will notice Typhoon Matmo here, powerful low pressure cell drenching the Philippines, but luckily it appears like its northern shift will continue, allow it to miss the Philippines and might even sneak up on Shanghai from the land side. In Europe, the power low is still in the North Atlantic, but you never want to discount even a weak low drawing from the Mediterranean heat. I'll run the infrared here so you can see just how energetic those southern systems can be with even minimal pressure gradient. North American notes, we now have 2 weak lows potentially developing, one west of Mexico and the other in the Atlantic, which has been utterly quiet thus far. As for imminent watches tonight, the Canadian lows will continue drawing heat and moisture to the border and beyond, while I'd also like to mention a non-pressure based wash with moisture funneling in from the Atlantic in a big way. That can't be ignored, and while the most severe storms tonight will stay in the Midwest and South Central Canada, it will be a wet one for a good portion of the country. In the rush to get back into the States yesterday, we didn't get a chance to show the second gamma burst from the 19th, Centaurus and Cetus. The cosmic ray fluctuations were very strong as well, and this is very much what we expect to become the new normal, especially with the heliosphere as weak as can be. Very low solar wind readings, now nearly 2 days below 300 kilometers per second, and a lack of solar max type flaring for the majority of this entire cycle. Folks, this is probably our most important mid-range and long-term issue here. Cosmic rays are going to play a big role in the climate, but you need the background. For those new here, you can click the name Suspicious Observers to head to our channel homepage. Below the Mobile Observatory Project picture and our most recent uploads, you'll find the playlists. Climate change is a vital one. We have not been told the full story there. The other playlists are highly recommended as well. Anyway, we don't expect any major flaring ramps soon. Just got one relevant sunspot group on the south with beta polarity, but nicely separated. No magnetic mixing. The central coronal hole faded after the quake, leaving just the north and the south. Pretty strong openings though. The southern hole is negative, and therefore our week-long or more positive influence is about to change. Another day or so and we'll be in the red. Folks, in 3 days the website will be 1 year old. If you have renewal questions, guys, just shoot them my way. For everyone else, we had about 60 hours of discussion, over 300 evening news shows, and a number of special features. That'll continue as long as I breathe. I just wish I didn't have to charge the whopping amount of $3 per month. Check the north end coming as we close with shots of our star. Eyes open, no fear at 6:05 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
All right, and he had an earthquake update this evening, and without further ado, we'll play that.
Good evening, folks. Tonight's evening news will be public on YouTube. First, the global climate report for June came out. It was, again, mostly a story of precipitation or lack thereof. It's linked for you below. The above-average temperature plateau over the last couple of decades continues and still can't bring itself to match the rising CO2 levels. The anomaly map shows above and below average temperatures across the planet. Fairly good mix. We often share new papers describing why the IPCC models failed to be accurate for the last 20 years, but we usually don't get the model deficiencies from the U.S. Navy. Got to read this one carefully. Our star remained calm today with no flaring, and even a density bulge that ticked the BZ southward never got to 300 kilometers per second. The weak solar wind continues. Most of you know we are in an elevated quake watch with Jupiter coming to solar conjunction, and us having multiple coronal holes on the disk, central, to the north, and now even the southern opening enters the Earth-facing fourth of the sun. The seismic uptick continued today with a very deep rumble in Fiji registering 6.9 at USGS, and this one appears to be right about on par with the global readings. Warsaw, New York event for the Mobile Observatory Project begins shortly. Check out observatoryproject.com for our full schedule and regular updates. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.
All right, thank you, suspicious observers. Thank you, full spectrum survival. I can't express to you how important it is to subscribe, to watch those, unless you just want to catch them here, and that's fine too. Got a lot going on. We need to learn to pull together and pull it together. It's astonishing. Been keeping an eye on a lot of things. Boy, was there a lot of different news that came out today. There was a lot of news that came out today about the flight MH17 that went down. Just all kinds of different information that came out. Some of it's relatively scary. I guess I'll start local for you. Ellen, on a website called illinoispolicy.org, I saw a headline that said, Illinois workforce shrinks by largest Martian in state history. Martian. We need some Martians. It says, in June, Illinois suffered the largest monthly workforce loss in recorded state history. June's workforce loss was worse than the worst month of the Great Recession. Let me repeat that. June's workforce loss was worse than the worst month of the Great Recession. Overall, 21,700 Illinoisans gave up and left the workforce in June. Oh, Illinoisans gave up and left the workforce. They make it sound like a choice, don't it? The hefty workforce loss has driven states' unemployment rate down to 7.1% from 7.5%, creating a superficial appearance of improvement, and Governor Pat Quinn says Illinois needs to keep up the momentum. Keeping up this sort of momentum would be disastrous. An astonishing 46,000 Illinoisans have quit looking for a job and dropped out of the workforce over the last 3 months. That 3-month loss of workers from the workforce is the second worst decline in the history of Illinois. The working age population in Illinois grew by 12,000 people over the same 3-month period, which leaves nearly 58,000 working age Illinoisans unaccounted for and out of the workforce in just 3 months. What can you say? It's mind-boggling to me that somebody would accuse me of being, however you want to word it, I guess conservative or rightist or... No, I'm intelligent. Thank you. What are people supposed to do? There are no jobs. The only jobs that anybody can find are in the service industry, working for minimum wage. You know, those jobs the people on the right side say you don't deserve any more money for working, even though working 40 hours at those jobs, if you could get that, which is nearly impossible these days, you still couldn't afford rent, electricity, God forbid a car payment and car insurance. It's astonishing, folks, and the only way we can get anywhere is if we work together. Together. It's the only way. We gotta stop this attitude that is us against everybody else. Because in the end, it's us against them. These politicians, these corporations, that's what it boils down to. It's us against them. And they're laughing. They're having a grand old time because we're too busy fighting with one another. Trying to take away each other's rights. Trying to even take away each other's opinions. No, I'm not right-wing. I'm not left-wing. I'm intelligent. Sorry. That was, I caught that. That's my home state is Illinois, where I lived most of my life. Not proudly, mind you. Not proudly. So, let's go a little beyond this God-forsaken state of Illinois. Today, and this is from NewYorkPost.com, NYPost.com, Biden dissed Putin to his face. I don't think you have a soul. Really? Coming from Biden? Really? How would he know? Vladimir Putin has no soul, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden concluded after meeting with the Russian leader at the Kremlin in 2011, according to an article in the New Yorker published online Monday. Biden told the magazine about his 2011 visit with Putin, who at the time was prime minister, and he said he found himself just inches away from the Russian leader. I said, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm looking into your eyes, and I don't think you have a soul, Biden told the magazine. He looked back at me and he smiled and said, we understand one another. Really? Really? I would love to see somewhere, and there again, what would have been Putin's intent behind that reply? Here's the thing. If you didn't know it or not, Biden is a self-proclaimed Zionist. Okay? So, it's kind of like a pot calling the kettle black there. And I don't know, Putin might have meant that as in he felt the same way. I really am having an issue thinking that Putin said that in agreement with Biden. Because I'll tell you what, from what I have seen, from what I have researched, and the statements that I've heard, Putin has showed that he's much more Christian in his faith than what our current administration is. So I really don't understand that, but I seen that. I ran across that, and I figured, well, that's got to go on the news. I'm speechless. I really am. You know, I'm not a supporter of any of these leaders. To me, I think they've all, if they haven't sold their souls, they've lost some of it, something. You know, but at least Putin still talks about being Christian. He still promotes Christianity. In the United States, they're trying to shun it. They're trying to shut it up. So the next story I'll talk about, I ran across this. This is on the dailycost.com. Military device used on Detroit protest against water shutoffs. Now, Sunday I did a show, and I do have it unlisted. I had some technical issues that I had, and there are just other reasons. I don't know. I felt like I was talking in circles, and so I've got the show unlisted. And if anybody wants to see it that bad, they can send me a message on the Facebook page, and I will give them the link. It's not that I'm trying to hide anything. It just, I don't know. And I may wind up making it public anyway. It's something that I have to think about, something I need to pray on. But in that, I mentioned different weapons that our government had. Again, the show it didn't go like I intended it to. It was supposed to be all about love and the importance of love. And I wound up going off in all kinds of different directions. Sometimes that happens. But I did mention weapons. And one of the weapons I mentioned was an LRAD. That's Lima, Romeo, Alpha, Delta, for those that know phonetic code. Lima, Romeo, Alpha, Delta. LRAD. It stands for Long Range Acoustical Device. Or Acoustic Device. So, a lot of people are totally unaware of these weapons. And they've been deployed here in the United States back when, when Occupy Wall Street was having their protests. They had displayed their LRAD system at some of those protest locations. And I remember watching live video when they actually used that stuff. I will, let me read this. 9 persons were arrested at the entrance to Homeridge, a demolition contractor working on a $5.6 million deal to perform the water shutoffs on residents. The rally outside the gate started at 6:30 a.m. and went on for 7 hours before arrests were made. Police believe the group would disperse and head to the rally downtown at Hart Plaza. The group, however, showed their commitment holding the gate after the rally had started. This is the second week of arrests at the entrance and the second time in the last 10 years protesters were arrested in Detroit. Last week, 10 persons were arrested and released on bail awaiting trial for disorderly conduct. Yeah, there goes your First Amendment right. The first arrested of the group is Baxter Jones, a former Detroit public schools teacher, wrongfully dismissed and is in a wheelchair. Baxter had put himself on the front line during last week's blockade, which had 10 arrested as well, but the police chose not to arrest him and dragged his chair out of the way. The group doesn't appear to be letting up on the pressure. During the protest, several televised interviews were shown, one of which was with Valerie, who spoke of her household and her neighborhood going to the mass shutoffs. As Homeridge approved through a 3-block area, she mobilized in a moment, saving her house from being shut off, and opened up a neighborhood water location. In our worst of times, community becomes very essential in getting through. A LRAD, long-range acoustic device, was used to disperse a rally at Hart Plaza in downtown Detroit on Friday, July 18. Well, that's a bye story. Let me finish reading what I was. The sound... Oh, I was. I'm sorry. The let me restart that. An LRAD, long-range acoustic device, was used to disperse a rally at Hart Plaza in downtown Detroit on Friday, July 18, 2014 at 2:43 p.m. There has been previous use of an LRAD in Detroit on May 1st, 2012, when Occupy Wall Street gathered on the public sidewalk outside Grand Circus Park after park closing hours at 10 p.m. The use in 2012 was as a public address. The use in 2014 was to cause distress to those hearing the sound. You can hear the sound emitted in the video footage at 50 minutes into this clip. They have a video clip there. Those who were on the platform to speak felt vibration through their body, and some clutched at their chest during the deployment, which lasted about 2 minutes. The sound dispersed the crowd, which had peacefully assembled, with speakers discussing the human right to water and the hypocrisy of Michigan's emergency manager law, which is brought forth after the public voted down an emergency manager law during the November elections. Rally speakers brought the position of Detroit as being ruled by an implanted dictator who is dismantling sections of local government. Those assembled resist the interest of Kevin Orr, the EM of Detroit, in moving the public water to a privatized service. They also resist privatization of all public schools placed in the trust of our local government to provide for the well-being of our citizens. Detroit has seen public lighting turned over to a new authority which has darkened major streets such as Gratiot, Grand River, and Woodward, streets where pedestrian deaths have occurred at night in the past year. Sorry about my stumbling when I try and read. It's hard sometimes because I get so lost in thought. My head thinks extremely fast, and sometimes I'm thinking a lot faster than I can read. But anyway, first off, come on. We've got to have water. That's a no-brainer. Really. Now I'm going to have conservatives and right-wing people yelling at me for speaking that people should be entitled to certain things. Yes, you should be entitled to water. Come on now. Let's get real. Let's get real. I've put the link up in previous broadcasts to the full version. Let me impose the full version of Agenda 21. Please read it. I can't express any more how important it is to read Agenda 21. This is all part of it. It's all included in there. They're going to take over all the resources. They're going to take over all the land. They're going to take over everything. And they will stop at nothing to do it. Now, I want to point back out something that it said in that article. What it said it did. I will get right back to it. Where we're saying, okay, you can hear the sound emitted in the video, blah, blah. Those who were on the platform to speak felt vibration through their body, and some clutched at their chest during the deployment, which lasted about 2 minutes. Let me explain this device to you. I said something about it in last night's show, and again, that's not at this point viewable for public. I may change that. But I explained this device, this LRAD device. You could be standing amongst 1,000 people, and they can aim this device and whisper in your ear. And you're the only one that can hear what's being said. Or they can crank this device up. They can explode your eardrums and kill you. I do believe they can stop your heart with it using the lower tone frequencies. Basically, they can do anything from drive you crazy to kill you. They use these devices over at the beginning of the Afghanistan conflict. I think that's where they first started doing their major human testing on them. They were using holograms in the sky. They were using these devices to make people think that Allah was talking to them. And now they're here on our streets, right here in the good old USA. LRAD, long-range acoustic device. You better get to know it, because you're going to see it a lot more. Folks, I've said it a million times. I'll say it another million times. We cannot stop what's coming. We can't. The only thing we can do is join together. That's all we can do. And that still isn't going to save everybody. It's just not. It's sad. It's sad. It's a real sad day when somebody attacks me for my personal beliefs and beliefs that aren't even my personal beliefs. They happen to be somebody else's personal beliefs that, I don't know. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But I do know in the end we all fit in the same size hole in the ground. But people can't even understand that anymore. It's all about what they want. Soon enough, it's going to be about what we need. Ask the people in Detroit. They can tell you. What is it? They say you can live 3 days without water. You probably couldn't live 1 day without coffee. No, just kidding. Actually went without coffee for a little while. But they say you can live 3 days without water. Yeah, I guess. I imagine you'd be in some pretty bad shape after about a day and a half or 2 days. But that's what's going on in Detroit, and they're using the LRAD systems. And like I said, it's going to be coming to a town near you soon, because you're going to see riots and everything else and protests. You're going to see all that pick up. It's a result. It happens every time when the economy goes really awry, when food prices skyrocket, and y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Nothing. You think the food prices are high now? Nah. They haven't even really gotten under their way yet. I'm telling you, United Nations. And they're the ones, the crazy thing is they're the ones that's, supposedly stepping in to make them turn the water on. Or at least that's what I was seeing as on the reports a couple weeks or so ago. I'm telling you, the United Nations are not our saviors. They're not. They're just like the IMF. They will make it look like they're trying to help you out, when what they're actually doing is taking over. They're probably working in unison. I don't know. I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. Too many rabbit holes. But I wanted to pass that story about what was going on in Detroit over to you, because I thought that was rather important. So I wanted to throw this out at you too, and this is something, this was a story that was published, it's kind of a long story, but it's on RT, and if you Google U.S. ends ban on domestic propaganda. Now this story was published July 15th, 2013 at military time, at 6:32 p.m. Not that that really matters so much. It was updated the following day. Basically what it discusses is there was a ban on propaganda. See, our government couldn't lie to us and make stories up to us for whatever their agenda was. Okay, that was against the law, and rightfully so. Well, a year ago, just over a year ago, that ban was lifted. And I had spoke about this before, but I wanted to find somewhere where you guys could go and look it up yourself and see for yourself. And I should have probably put that link down in the About tab, but I didn't. Just go to Google, type in U.S. ends ban on domestic propaganda. That's all you got to do. Type that in, and you'll probably see the link for RT right there. Just click the link and you can read the story yourself. It's kind of a long story. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a better way to go find that story, to dig into it yourself. And I think they give all the information to where you could go check it out on the government end as well. None of this stuff is top secret. They're not hiding it. It's just most people don't care. They don't care yet. They will soon enough. But the people in this country just is not going to know what hits them. They're just not. I wanted to throw that out at you. I seen that, so I clicked on it. Another thing, well, I'll end the show with that. A lot of stuff going on around about this plane that went down, this MH17 Boeing. A lot of stuff, and I wanted to bring up the propaganda thing first because I've been seeing propaganda coming from all sides of this situation. I would highly recommend nobody pick a side. Same with, and here we go, we're going to get people hating on me. I would not pick a side on the Hamas and Israel ordeal either. First of all, it's not our circus, it's not our monkeys. It's really not. Okay? That's first and foremost. Secondly, you shouldn't support killing men, women, and children of any sort. Any sort. That's not for us to do. It's just not. It's astonishing to me, the tribal attitudes. Kenny Cool had the perfect term for that. The tribal attitudes. It's absurd. I can't imagine. I guess it's so easy for people to say because it's not happening in their own streets, you know? But it will soon enough. Just hang in there. It's coming, and it's coming quick. I do fully believe we're going to see all-out war in our country very soon. And if we don't, not from another country, we're going to see it from our own government or the United Nations themselves, or whoever wants to help us out, because that's how that goes. But just wanted to bring that up. Just be careful of whose side you jump on in anything in life. I'm not just speaking about governments or anything else. I have an ability a rather good ability to keep things to myself. And so because of that, there's a large number of people that will come to me in my private life and they'll talk to me about things. And one of the things that always comes out of my mouth whenever I hear something like, something to do with, say, a couple or two people or something like that, I always ask the question, well, what did the other person do? And not to be accusatory of anything. It's not about that. But there's three sides to a story. And if you're real lucky, there's two, but that's almost unseen. And I will not jump on a side. Not that quick. Now, once I know as much of the story as what I can gather, and I use discernment and I use common sense, then I might speak up. Might. It depends on the situation. Again, a lot of times it's not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm there to be a good ear. I'm there to be a shoulder to cry on if need be. It's just the way I am. I find value in my life by helping others' lives. It makes it real rough on me when I can't, or if I'm not helping other people in any way that I can. It makes it rough on me. Because that's kind of how I value myself, is how much I can do for others. I think somewhere we're supposed to be that way. Interesting. But anyway, what I was going to say is yesterday, after I did, I started the show out by playing a song. It's one of my favorite songs. And after I got done with the chapter reading out of the Bible, I I re-spoke the lyrics to these songs without the song, without the music. And since that show was unlisted, I figured I would do that again today. It's just so important that we understand this. Now, mind you, this song was written by somebody that's supposedly oh so terrible. This song was written by somebody that's supposedly satanic. And I've never known the man to be anything of the such at all. Not at all. But anyway, the song is called Revelation, Mother Earth. And before I tell you who it's from, if you don't know, I will say the lyrics. Mother, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. Looking back in history's books, it seems it's nothing new. Oh, let my mother live. Heaven is for heroes, and hell is full of fools. Stupidity, no will to live, they're breaking God's own rules. Please let my mother live. Father of all creation, I think we're all going wrong. The path they're taking seems to be breaking, and it won't take too long. Children of the future, watching empires fall. Madness, the cup they drink from. Self-destruction, the toll. I had a vision. I saw the world burn, and the seas had turned red. The sun had fallen, the final curtain, in the land of the dead. Mother, please show the children, before it's too late. To fight each other, there's no one winning. We must fight all the hate. Sure isn't something you would think Ozzy Osbourne would write, huh? Sure enough, that was Ozzy Osbourne, Revelation, Mother Earth, one of my favorite songs of all time. It's interesting. Even before I was a follower, even before I considered myself a servant, there were so many values. I hate attaching the word Christian to it, but that's what most people understand it as. I had so many Christian values and so many Christian morals that I felt in me. And even though I rejected the thought of there being a God, or interesting, it really is interesting. It all makes sense to me now, even though it didn't at the time. But so hopefully, maybe those lyrics might get people to think a little bit, or we've got to stop. We've got to stop judging each other. We've got to stop demoralizing each other. We've got to stop taking away each other's rights. I mean, it's gotten to the point to where it's saddening. It's scary. I mean, what are we even supposed to think anymore? I mean, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to think? I don't know. I don't know. I really, really do not know. All I know is one thing we can do. We can pray for one another. We can pray that God give us the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And definitely pray that God gives us the understanding. We need to learn to love one another again. Because there's just so much hate. So much hate. And if we can't get past that, we don't have a chance. Like I said before, it's not me against you. It's not you against me. It's us against them. You know, most of us, when we graduate high school, we notice something different. At some point, it took me quite a few years. In fact, it took me until I got on Facebook to see this. But I seen that there was a difference. People were friending me and talking to me on Facebook that wouldn't give me the time of day in high school. And yeah, I questioned a lot of motive in the beginning, but at some point I realized, and I think a lot of us realized, that we all come under an understanding that we're in this life together. It's not about whether you're a jock or a stoner or a geek or prepper or whatever the terms are used today in schools. More labels. But we're more all in the same club. Or at least we were. And they took that away from us. And they did that with medication. They did that with TV. They did that with lack of nutrition. You know, all you got to do is study how a cult works. And if you understand how a cult works, or how a lot of them work, and you pay attention to what's going on in our country, and you got to pay real close attention, you'll see that that's how our government's working. They're malnutritioning us. They're controlling every bit of information that we get, unless you find independent sources, and they're disappearing too. You know, it's something I hadn't brought up before, but last Friday's show, I think it was, one of these shows I did, when I brought up Israel and Hamas, I got threats. I was threatened over that show. I was threatened because I don't support Israel or Hamas. I think they both need to stop. I think Israel needs to stop taking the land away. Hamas needs to stop shooting bottle rockets at Israel, because that's kind of what it amounts to. You know, take the populations. I mean, it's kind of at a point that the only decent solution is to take the populations of the two countries and divide the land up accordingly and leave it at that. What is it that they call it? That the right to return, I think was the term that I heard it called. The right to return. Really? Okay. Well, when do the Indians have the right to return back to their land? Huh? I don't see too many people in this country supporting that. So, this right to return is hypocritical at best. Kids. And I know the media, depending on which side the media is on, I know it's all swayed. I get that. I understand that. I really do. Probably better than most. But that does not give us, I don't know, we just need real news, and we're not going to get it. There's no way to get it. I can't give it to you. Nobody can give it to you because we don't have it. None of us do. The only ones that have it are the ones that are over there getting shot at, getting bombed, getting killed, getting injured. They're the only ones that know. The rest of us are just blind bystanders. Seriously, that's what we are, blind bystanders, because we only get the information that's given to us. And trust me, I'm somebody that digs very, very deep. There's a lot of things that I don't discuss. There's a lot of things that I can't discuss because they come from places and sources that I can't relay. And some of the information, if I relayed what I know, it might get figured out where things come from. So I don't. And I'm not speaking anything in particular about what's going on in Israel and Hamas, but it's really, we got to use common sense with this. Really, people are dying. And again, over here it's easy for people in this country to say, go Israel, or go Hamas, or, you know, because the bombs aren't falling over here. I bet if they were, they'd be a different story. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of changes coming soon. I can guarantee that. Wow. Wow. It's astonishing. Agenda 21. I can't tell you how important it is. Not to read the summary like I tricked everybody. Go read the full thing. 351 pages. I've read every one of them, I think, 3 times over. Yes, I'm boring. But more importantly than that, I'm loving and I'm caring and I want to be understanding. Because the only chance we have is by binding together and having the knowledge and the faith to be able to get past this. And it's going to take every bit of that. Every bit of that. Without it, not many of us have a chance at all. Just don't have a chance at all. I'm gonna try to kick it back. Me and this program's gonna get into it, I have a feeling, before it's all over with. See what I mean? Yeah, I gotta figure out a better way to do that. But anyway, I went back to this screen because I'm gonna close out on my intro deal. It's the same as always, folks. I love you all. I wish you the best, and may God bless and may He walk with you all, always. Not just today or this evening, always. And if you pray, give yourself to God, ask Him on these things before you even form an opinion on Israel or Hamas, or whether or not somebody should have the right to own firearms, or whether somebody should have the right to abort a child, or whatever the issue is. Take it to God. Use that as your measurement. And I'm not sitting here to thump a Bible at you or to, throw verses your way. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that is a standard. That is a firm standard. There's a difference between right and wrong. And somehow people of this world have gotten in the middle of common sense and decency and morals and understanding and jumbled it all up. And now people are measuring things by all these different standards. Whether or not you look nice depends on how expensive your clothes are. That's bogus. That's absolutely bogus. I've tried very hard in my life to remove as many standards as possible. And the only standard that I want left is God's standard. And God don't care how you're dressed. He don't. He absolutely does not. And I don't think God is measuring whether or not Israel or Hamas is right by some kind of crazy standard made up by man. I think He's looking down at it and saying, why are these people killing each other? We've got to stop. We've got to stop. Measure things. Pray to God. I hope that people can get a good understanding. I'm getting lost in my own thoughts here. Because I'm lost. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. For a little over 30 years, I was atheist, and I still had the same standards and the same morals and the same understandings. It didn't even take God for me to do it. It just took humanity, knowledge of humanity. Thinking of how would I want others to treat me? And then I'd do my best to treat them that way. I often say this, and I know that my ex have probably gotten so tired of hearing it's unbelievable, but I've said this so many times to so many people. It's an input-output world. Whatever you output, you're going to input. Whatever you input, you're likely going to output. It was highly frustrating for her to hear it over and over because she liked to complain a lot. But just remember that. Just remember that. When you judge somebody else, you can expect that they're going to judge you. Just bank on it. If somebody, if you walk up to somebody and you yell at them, don't expect them not to yell back at you. But it works in both the negative and the positive. When you give somebody decency and courtesy, they're more likely to give it back. So try that. Give that a shot. Anyway, like I said, may God walk with you. May He bless you all. Be one with your spirit, because that's very important. That helps you get in tune and in touch with these kind of things. And I will talk to you tomorrow evening. Good night. Thank you.